So aloha, everyone, and welcome to our Actions of Aloha webinar. The topic for today is spring cleansing and playing off of, the season of spring and not really cleaning, but the notion of cleansing and thinking about what might be different between those two terms. This is our second webinar in our series, and so we hope that you're finding value in them and that they're helping you to think critically about how to live your best and truest life, and how to serve yourself, your ohana, and your community in as your highest self. And that's the purpose of these conversations, is really to instigate and to create aloha within us in such a way that everybody that we interact with feels and understands and knows that we are living our truest life with the notion of our truest self shining through. And when you really think about it from the inside out is, when we think about cleansing, it really starts with the inside out. And I love this notion of cleansing because it brings into account the reality of life. And the reality of life is that life is messy, right? There's lots going on in our lives, especially as women today here, trying to balance all of the different things that are going on with our life. If I just think about my own experience, right? Work, self-care, children, aging parents, community obligations, all the things, right? So sometimes it's really hard for us to step back and really think about what's going on with ourselves, right? To take that pause and that breath, to give ourselves the opportunity to realign, which we did last month. Those of you that joined us for that, thank you for joining us. And then this month, talking about cleansing. And when I think about cleansing, I think about the word ola. And in our culture, in the Hawaiian language, ola means life, right? But so much more than just life. It means breath. It means to support, to sustain, but it also talks about your well-being. So not just your physical life, right? But all of the parts of well-being, spiritual, social, all the things, as well as your livelihood, right? Like, what is your financial health and how does that impact your ola or your life, and how you can or cannot thrive, especially here in Hawaii. And so I want you to keep that word in your na'au today, or in your pu'uwai today, your heart, as we move forward, that notion of ola. And, ola is such a powerful word, 3 letters, right? But really powerful in the sense that it really speaks to all of the things that give us life, right? And help to sustain us. And as Wāhine, it's really important that we continue to invest in that, into our ola, so that we can be healthy and alive and well and thriving, so that we can give that out to our circles and to our community as well. So thinking about ola and what that means to you, I want you to, do an activity after this call about ola. Like, what if you were to rate yourself in the sense of your well-being, right? And that's why I love Hawaiian words and Hawaiian language, is because it's so much more than just well-being or life, right? It's health, it's financial support, it's like all the things that you need, all inclusive, right? In this one little 3-letter word. But if you were to rate yourself from a scale of 1 to 10 on how much you're thriving in your life, right? What is your ola? If we call it the ola scale, just for purposes of this activity, what would you give yourself? Right. And then to spend some time really reflecting on that number, right? And if it's a 3, a 5, a 7, maybe it's a 9, whatever it might be, to really reflect on what that number means and what it's telling you, right? That needs to happen in your life. Ola loa means long life, right? Malama ola means like how you financially support yourself, right? How you take care of yourself. When our kupuna pass, we say ola kainoa, right? Your name lives on through the work that we do and the lives that we lead as your legacy. Ola naivi, right? Your bones are alive even after you pass. So there's many different parts of this word that connect us to this particular Aina in Hawaii, as well as to our genealogy, as well as to how we our current state of health and well-being. So that's the mana'o of this webinar, to keep in your heart and your gut, or your na'au, is really like, what is my ola? And if I'm to give myself a checkup on my ola, what would it be? And so some things that I want to think about, or that I think about and talk about, is one thing that can really support our ola is the sense of cleansing. And, cleaning is really important. And I think about cleaning, like, we have to do all of those types of things all the time, right? But cleaning is more of an act, and cleansing is a process, right? It's a collection of actions that come together with a specific intention in order to accomplish a goal. And so when I think about cleansing, it embodies your spirituality, right? It embodies your physicality, right? Your physical being. It embodies your social, your emotional, your financial, all of the different aspects of who you are involved in that process. And in order to have really a healthy and thriving life, right, you really need to practice regularly this process of cleansing. And it's not something that you do once and then it's done. It's a constant checking in, right? It's so funny. Like, we always take our cars and they get tune-ups, right? We take our children to get their checkups. But I'm guilty, as I'm sure many of you are guilty, of never, ever, or skipping on checkups for yourself, tune-ups for yourself, right? Reinvesting in yourself to make sure that you're operating and functioning as your highest self in order to serve the others that are around you. And so this is something I definitely identify with. And, I'm 43 now, but it's been my 40s, right? In my 40s that I'm like, okay, I really need to figure this out. Like, I feel like I know a lot of things. I've read a lot of books. I've done a lot of training. But how come it is that I'm in my 40s and I still don't really know how to take care of myself in a way that keeps me at optimal performance and all of the functions that I have in this society? So my daughter just walked in. Hi, you're in the mirror. Thanks for crawling. Oh, mom life always. But it's really the true story of all of us is, right, that we invest in so many others that rarely we have the opportunity to stop to really take into account what we need to take into account to invest into ourselves. So my second point tonight is that I just want to honor each of you for coming. I think there's a couple dozen people on the line, 35 people maybe. And you guys came to spend this hour with me to really invest in yourself. So you're making time for yourself tonight, identifying that you're worth investing in. And I want to honor that. And I want to say that I see the light in each of you that are on this call and the desire to spend time with a group of women to think about ourselves and to invest in ourselves in order to be better humans, better mothers, better sisters and daughters and coworkers and lovers and partners and all the things. So thank you for making this time tonight. It's an incredible thing to make time for ourselves. Sometimes we take it for granted, but it's really, really important. So first thing is ola, right? And thinking about and processing what that means to you in your life. Second thing is gratitude, right? The gratitude that each of you should feel in your heart for this time and space that you created to reconnect with yourself, that you created to spend this time focusing on yourself. And also, I just want to share that gratitude and reflect that gratitude back to you, that I see that in each of you. And I appreciate the gesture of being here and spending time with me talking about cleansing. Now we're going to get into the cleansing. So when I think about cleansing, right, I think about healing. And I just want to take a deep breath there because that's a big word, healing. And it's a loaded word for many of us because oftentimes nobody ever says, are you healing? Are you working on your healing? Right? Oftentimes people are like, how are you? We're like, good, great, fine. Right? All of those kind of words that we just throw out there to move on to the next thing. But really, we're all in this process of healing, right? It's a continuum. We're in different parts of the journey. We have different things that arise that we need to manage and deal with. But the healing is such an important part. And so to me, the cleansing, right, and the ola is really about healing, right? And actually healing is not just one big process, right? It's something that we have to do every single day. It's a muscle that we continue to grow so that we can take risks, fail, heal, right? We can have situations happen, get hurt, and heal. But this constant cycle, like everything else in our Hawaiian world, right? It's on a cycle of healing. And it always comes back to healing, right? If you think about practices like ho'oponopono, like pikai, which is jumping into the ocean and cleansing physically, especially after you lost a loved one, it's this notion of healing, right? So when's the last time that you sat down and you're like, I'm going to heal today? What does that mean for me today? And oftentimes healing is about cleansing. And in order to get to the next phase of the process, whatever your process is, however long your journey is, there needs to be a moment or a time within that you specifically intend to cleanse. And so that's what we're talking about today. That's what this time is set up to do. And in order to do that, we really need to, one, assess, right? Like, what is it that needs to be healed today? And sometimes it's not, some of you might be like, oh, this, that. I had a conversation with my daughter yesterday. That needs to be healed. I'm struggling with something that happened to me as a child. That needs to be healed. But sometimes it's not something we're even aware of, but it's within us. And the process of cleansing allows us to wipe that clean, right? But in order to do it first, we have to assess. And to me, assessing is listening, right? Ho'olohe, the act of listening, right? And I'm not saying the act of listening, like not turning on your audiobook or your music so you can tune it out or phase it out, but the act of really listening to yourself, listening to your heart, listening to your mind, checking in with yourself. The act of listening. It's such a sacred act, really, if you think about it, right? It's something that on the very rare occasion, we have the opportunity and time to do. But if we don't intend for it, it never really happens, right? Our voice becomes the softest voice in the room. Our needs become the last needs on the list. And so I would want to invite you guys tonight to spend some time in this process of ho'olohe. And ho'olohe is listening, but to me, it's also hearing yourself. It's hearing yourself. And sometimes that's through, you can do that through meditation. Some people do it through praying, right? Some people do it through silence. I love Auntie Nana Very in her book. She says, Hawaiian superpower is silence. And I process that a lot. I think about that a lot because I feel like, we're taught in school that we're an oral culture and we talk a lot and we communicate a lot. But really for our kupuna, it was in the silence that the learning happened. It was in the silence that relationships were made to aina, right? It was in the time that we spent in our gardens with our plants, in the ocean that gave us the lessons and that connection, that piliness to aina. And so I'm going to invite you all to do that now with yourself. We're going to spend 5 minutes thinking about this connection with ourself, this pilina that we have with ourself. And remember, again, the point of this is to process, to assess what it is that we want to cleanse, right? We want to have some kind of visual image of what we want to cleanse tonight. And because I don't want this to just be like me talking at you, I want us to actually do some work. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to close your eyes, put one hand on your heart and one hand on your gut, right? The gut is so important, right? It's the center of our thinking, really. It gives us all of the intuition, right? It's where our courage comes from. It's where we challenge our fear. So keep one hand on your gut and one hand on your heart. And I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes. And we're just going to breathe. And just listen. Just ho'olohe. If thoughts are coming to your mind that aren't relevant to the work that you're doing right now, like maybe you're also thinking, oh, it's 6:30, 6:15, I got to figure out dinner, I got to pick up the kids. Just invite them to leave and focus on yourself. And if you're like me, when you struggle a little bit with visualization, think about two balls of light that are sitting under your hands, one on your gut and one on your heart. And immediately, those balls of light should start to make your hands feel warmer. Focus on that light and the growing feeling as the balls get stronger and stronger and brighter, and just hold that light right there over your gut and over your heart. And take 10 clearing breaths. So breathe in, hold it at the top for 3 seconds, and let it go. It can be loud. It's your breath work. It's your focus and your concentration. So just follow your intuition with the breath work. When you finish your breaths, just want to invite you back to the room when you're ready. Take your time. I definitely had some emotions coming up, some unfinished business that arose. So if you have a pen and paper, I want you to just write down where you're at now, what's showing up for you, what you're feeling. If you have tears, let them flow. This is your space and time. You're in your own room by yourself. If you have joy, let your joy out. Let it shine. This is your time. You have 2 more minutes in this reflection. I'm just going to make a short list of things that came up for me here on my notepad. But I invite you to continue to breathe if that's where you need to be right now. I invite you to reflect on paper or mentally, or I invite you to just sit in whatever emotions those 10 breaths brought up for you. Okay, inviting us all back to join the room collectively. And the beauty of us being here together collectively is that we're sharing energy with each other. And so the work that we're doing is collective. So although you're sitting in your own space and you're by yourself, know that you're surrounded by 35 women who are holding you up, who feel the light that grew inside your belly and your heart, and who are sharing space with you for this work. Okay. So for me, I just wrote down a couple of things in reflection of what was coming up for me. I had a fight with my daughter 2 days ago that came up for me, some sadness around that, an edginess that I feel around anxiety about money and kind of some big house projects that I need to accomplish. And then some, I don't even know if it's excitement or sadness around a trip that my husband and my daughter are going on in a couple of days for a month. But those were things that just came up. And I actually did have some tears, and I felt kind of really, although I had that fight with my daughter 2 days ago, I hadn't really processed it. So I felt that coming up. It feels like unfinished business when it comes up, right? If it's something that keeps coming to your mind, it means that you haven't quite finished your business with it yet, right? And so, that's why writing it down is really important, right? The identification process of, okay, these are the three things. So for me, those are the three things I'm going to focus on. Cleansing tonight collectively with all of you, Mana Wāhine, is all of those emotions that I just shared with you. And the identifying is important because we're speaking intention into it, right? It's not just like a, it's not just what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just a standard process, right? It's something very special and internal to us and who we are as beings, right? So speaking intention into the things that we're actually thinking about and meditating about and praying on and cleansing tonight are really important. So I want you to say those things out loud right now. We can't hear you because you're all are muted, but I want you to speak that out into the universe. And I'm going to give you just 60 seconds to do that. Just as I shared with you, what are the things that you're cleansing right now that you're going to cleanse tonight with us? Okay, so we have a calabash, right, of all of those things. And we're holding this big bowl collectively as women of all of these things that we're cleansing tonight, right? And we're going to hold them all in the bowl because the intention of all of us will help to move all of these things collectively. And so what is cleansing? Like, how are we going to cleanse? What is the next step after you've identified it, right? And there's many different ways in which people cleanse. Hawaiians use the ocean a lot or salt water to cleanse. But cleansing is it's a matter of washing away, right? Of clearing out. And one of my Sadhguru, who is one of the gurus that I had the incredible privilege to travel to Tibet and Nepal with, to Mount Kailash, which is the center of Hinduism and Buddhism, says bathing is the most purest form of cleansing, right? Because we bathe all the time. We're not always thinking like, oh, we're cleansing. This is a process of cleansing. But the way in which he shared it is that when you're in the womb, you're surrounded by water, right? The most purest form of and not water, but liquid, purest form of liquid from your mom's amniotic fluid and all the things, right? And so as adults, as we continue to take baths or shower, that's our daily cleansing ritual that we actually already do on the daily, right? So if you ever need a cleanse, like you feel like you need a pick-me-up, you feel weighted down, going back to the water is always a way to do that. And you don't always have to go to the ocean or to be in a temple or to go to church, right? You are your church. Your body is your temple. And you have the privilege and the power to cleanse your temple whenever you so choose. And so I love that he gave us that really easy tool that every time you need a cleanse, that you can just take a shower or bath. And that's a cleansing ritual, right? But instead of just bathing, right, thinking about it as you bathe and as you're washing your sacred temple, right, as you're cleaning it and cleansing it, is what are you washing away? What are you releasing? What are you saying goodbye to? What are you letting go of? Anything and everything that's no longer serving you. Or it might be one thing that's really on your mind, right? So I want you to do that next time you're taking your bath or your shower, is do a ritual, make it a ritual. And, as Indigenous people, we've always had practices, rituals, ceremonies that we do. But, sometimes I think in this world that we live in now, we think about that as a ritual as something that has to be done with a guru or a priest or somebody. But actually, rituals happen all the time in our lives. And we have the opportunity to harness all of that and create rituals, right? And so I know some of you probably have amazing morning ritual or evening ritual that you practice daily. And that's awesome, because the more rituals you have, the more processes that you have in place to be constantly cleansing and moving energy through your life. So I want to offer that to you as a takeaway for tonight, is that the next time that you're bathing, that you use that as a ritual, a cleansing ritual, to cleanse away anything that is on your mind at the time. Another tool that I use oftentimes with cleansing is prayer. And I'm not going to say I wasn't a religious person, but I had many different religious influences in my life. My great-grandfather was a Buddhist priest. His wife was a Puritan. I would say my mother was raised in the Catholic Church. My father was a pure Hawaiian from Ka'u, so very much raised on the land and with all of our practices and rituals associated with the ocean and the land. And so I've had I feel like a really good understanding in general of this. But one thing that's common in everything is this idea of praying. Yeah. And praying is really the pause that we take in our daily life to reflect, right? To sometimes apologize or mihi, right? To ask for something that we're calling into our life or intending, and to give thanks and gratitude, right? In the Buddhist religion, it's compassion and gratitude, right? All of the prayers and so on and so forth. But the notion of praying is a really important notion, and it's a really indigenous notion. And it's not something that has to happen in any one place. You know, as your body is a temple, your body is also your prayer, right? Your mind is your prayer. You are the prayer. And so you have the opportunity to use that tool whenever and wherever you are. And, in the Hawaiian tradition of praying, right, you honor those that you're praying to. You ask for forgiveness. There's definitely some Christian influence here. You ask for what your intention of praying is, and you give gratitude and thanks. And this is 4 simple things, but it's the notion of praying. And this has been a muscle that I've been growing. I really started praying in my 30s. We never did it as a child. But now we have the opportunity to do it. I do it every single day. My children do it before they go to bed. But prayer is really important, right? And there are prayers just for cleansing, right? And when I say that, there are prayers for cleansing in our tradition, but you can also write a prayer for cleansing, right? The Notes app in my phone is a very useful tool that I use and activate all the time to write things that are on my mind. And if it's a prayer, to write out the prayer, and then I can share that prayer with my children and my family, or I can just have that prayer for me to say, when the same feeling comes up. So I want to practice that notion of praying, and really, as I mentioned today earlier, not really associated with any one religion, but a spiritual practice of really identifying that we're connected to a higher power, whatever that power might be for you. I, as a Kanaka, can't help but always come back to this aina and this land. And the word aina, it doesn't only mean land, but it means that which feeds us. So anything and everything that feeds us here. And so that pause gives you time to have the gratitude and compassion that you need to reconnect with that higher self, higher being, higher spirit that helps you to thrive in your daily life. So going to take a moment right here, and I want you to remember, this is actions of aloha. So we want to encourage you to do as many actions as you can so that you can have takeaways to use throughout your day and to bring more aloha into your life. So I want you to write a prayer right now on your paper or in the notes of your phone, or you can just say it if you want to do it that way. But going back to your list of what you're reflecting upon, I want you to write just 4 lines, a 4-line prayer of your cleansing process on the things that that came up for you during our breathing work. And I'm going to also write a new pule too, as we're all collectively writing. Isn't that crazy? Like the power of our intention to collectively write prayer together or give prayer together, and how much mana, just think about how much mana that is and energy that's being shared right now. It's overwhelming, really, to think about it. And I'm so grateful. So you can just title it My Pule and the date, which is the 28th. Okay, we'll come back to our collective circle here, our virtual circle. And I'll share my prayer with you. Na akua na umakua keia aina ne o Hawaii ne o aina. Mahalo for this space and time to share all of my thoughts and feelings. Today I'm asking for forgiveness and for compassion. I'm asking for protection and for the ability to give up my sadness and to cleanse away my anxiety and to provide joy to my husband and daughter as they go on their trip. I know that I'm magic and connected to the universe. I know that I'm meant to live and thrive a healthy life. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this virtual circle and for the time to cleanse these things that have been heavy on my heart. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. So really simple, right? Super simple. You can, whatever your prayer might be, you can have that. And I have about 15 prayers in my notes that I use. So if my kids maybe have a bad dream, I have a pule palekana, which is a protection prayer that we can say together, and different things. So prayer is definitely something that I want you to use for daily cleansing. So you have 2 tools now. You have your bath, you have your prayer. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about meditation. When I went to Tibet and Nepal, that was one of my goals, was to learn how to meditate. And I was like, I might know some of you on this call, you guys know, like I'm a wound up person. I'm like on the go, structured, 18 hours a day, craziness, right? And to me, the most wildest thing I could ever think of is just being still and not moving. I know some of you also on this call identify with that. Like the stillness and the silence of just being was incredibly, incredibly difficult for me. The doing, right? So you have doing and being. The doing was easy. I could knock out the doing all day. Give me any problem, I could solve it. Anything doing. The being was the work for me. And my sense is that some of you have that work to do too. And so what's the difference between doing and being, right? Doing is like that list that you make every day. It's the action items. It's the cooking dinner, putting the kids down, getting that promotion at work, getting that degree. These are all the doing things, right? The being is, how am I showing up in this world? Who am I? What am I bringing? Am I bringing light into the world? It's like the how, not the what. And for me, that was really, really hard. So meditation became a tool that I used in my 30s to really learn about how to really focus in and dial in on the being, not the doing. And as I mentioned, it was very hard for me. My great-grandfather was a Buddhist priest. He wrote a book, How to Meditate for Elementary Students. And in this journey of trying to learn how to meditate, studied a little bit of Buddhism and found his book. And so it was an incredible conversation with me and my great-grandfather, who I'd never met, about meditating and the importance of meditation. But what I learned along the lines is that it really belonged to me, my meditation. There was no rule book on how to meditate. It was my time. And it was the power of meditation is your ability to be. And your ability to be is vested in your ability to not do, right? The being makes you present, makes you here, makes you in the moment, right? Nothing else matters at that time. And the more space you can create like that, where you can just be, the quicker you get to what's in the core of who you are, so that you can get that out, dust it off, shine it up, cleanse it, and then bring it out to the world. So meditation is an incredible, incredible tool. And I hope, if that's not already a practice that you have in your life, that you start to think about it and maybe integrate it. But that's really the third tool that I wanted to leave with you tonight, is meditation. I use an incredible app called Insight Timer. I love it. It has thousands, maybe tens of thousands of different people that offer meditations up on there. So literally any single topic you can think of, gender, religion, everything is on there. It's amazing. And they have a free app too. But meditation is just about being. So I want you to think right now, when was the last time that you were just being? And maybe it was this morning when you woke up during your morning routine, you spent 10 minutes meditating or praying or journaling. But maybe for some of us, it's been a little bit. It's been a while. And it's really important that we find that time to be. I would say, like, if I was to audit myself in terms of doing and being, I was about a 80-20. I would spend 80% of my time doing and getting things accomplished, being a high performer, highly successful, and really only 20% of actually focusing on being. And now I'd like to think that that's flipped. Of course it's not, but I'm definitely at maybe like a 60-40, where I still do the things, many of the things, but they're actually informed by my being, right? How do you know that the things that you're doing are informed by your being? It's not really a trick question, but it's crazy. We're not taught this. It's because they'll give you energy, not take energy away from you. It's really simple. If your being is healthy, your well-being is in a good place, you're connected to your core and yourself and all of your gifts and all of your beauty, then every single thing that you do on the doing side gives you energy. How many of you on the daily feel exhaustion with the list of things that you have to get through every single day? Right? I mean, I have days like that where I'm just wiped out. And I'm like, one more dinner for the kids, homework. It's like torture at the end of the day. But that's because I'm not in the right space, right? Right, the right mind. So you can be mid-process too, or maybe before it's a big meeting where you have to meet with your boss or your colleague and you have to have a difficult conversation. And you can put on a 1-minute meditation or just meditate by yourself if you have that kind of willpower, which is my goal one day. Put on a 1-minute meditation to reset yourself. And you're just going to go back into your body, connect with yourself, that pilina, your breath, your thoughts, bring all your emotions down, cleanse, and be ready. You'll show up 1,000 times better than you would have without taking that pause for being. So I want to encourage you guys to think about that. That's an inquiry question that you can do a journal on. How am I being? Like, what do I rate my being on? And remember, the trick is that if your being is in a good place, right? If you are spending time investing in that relationship with yourself, that the doing actually brings you energy instead of sucks energy or sucks the life out of you, right? It's actually energizing rather than taking away from you. And so that's a really important thing. So we have bath, right? We have prayer, we have meditation, we have thinking about, the cleansing process. And why is that important? This is the word I want to close with. The closing thought is ho'ovaivai. So if you don't know that word, write it down. It's H-O Okina, which is it's called a glottal stop in English. O-W-A-I-W-A-I, ho'ovaivai. And we talked about the bath, right, as a cleansing daily ritual that you have. But vai, W-A-I, is water in our culture, fresh water, right? And so we knew a community was wealthy when they had lots of water. And the word for wealth in our culture is vai, right? So if communities had a lot of water, they were healthy because they could create a lot of crops, feed a thriving community, and that was a wealthy community. So we're starting with this notion of water, the cleansing, and a bath and a personal ritual, and bringing it all the way around to why is it important that we are talking about water? Is because we want to create wealth. And I know like the word wealth triggers different things in different people, but for me, wealth is about ola, right? It's about living the life that you designed on your terms in a healthy way that uplifts yourself, your family, your community, your lahui, your nation, and the world. That's ho'ovaivai. It's to create wealth within yourself. So what is the ho'ovaivai for you in the cleansing process, right? What are the things that I'm going to take away from this cleanse that's going to allow me to show up better in my life? And it might be small things and it might be big things, right? Like my husband and I just did a juice cleanse for 3 days this week. And the big takeaway for me was the sugar cravings. Like after I'd finished the cleanse, I really had time to be with my body physically and limit what was going into it and really watch it and pay attention to it. I was like, wow, I'm not like craving things. Like I know what my body really wants, which is water most of the time and nourishment, but nothing that really is like, normally I'd be like, on the go, like what can I get to just put in my mouth and sweet tooth at night, all the things, right? But on these little cleansing processes, same thing. It's like, what is the takeaway? What is the ho'ovaivai? This is so important, you guys, so we can do all the work, right? But we have to actually make sure that the work intersects our lives. It changes, it shifts us a little bit, right? So this is the cleansing part, right? Is that the cleanse will actually shift us a little bit. The letting go will shift us a little bit. It'll move us, right? It'll allow us to breathe a little deeper. Our jawline will relax, our shoulders will relax, whatever it might be. You show up to your meeting ready, right? And that's the whole vai piece. So pay attention to that piece, right? So after you do the work to cleanse, right? So reflection, cleansing, and then ho'olohe, right? Which is a reflection, cleansing, and then ho'ovai, right? So we started off with listening and learning from ourselves quietly by being ho'olohe. We then worked on the cleanse and clearing it, the things that came up for us. And then the third phase is the ho'ovai. It's what did I learn from that? What shifted? What's available to me now? What am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to? These are the big, powerful questions that move things within us, within our lives. And so we have that bowl still, right? The collective bowl of all of our things that we all put in that bowl that we're cleansing. So I'm going to do just a 3-minute meditation to do a group cleanse of all of that stuff. And then we'll take some questions at the end of the call. If you have any questions, you can ask it in the Q&A section. And then tonight, my hope is that you'll figure out or reflect or think about what the ho'ovai is of the work that you did today in this amazing pauhana with other Wāhine collectively. So close your eyes, make sure your feet are on the ground. It always is really important to ground yourself to this place, to this aina. If you know the ahupua'a that you are sitting in, to call it by name. So I'm here in Helumoa in Waikiki, and my feet are on the ground here. And I want you to just close your eyes and relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your hands, keep your hands open, put them in your lap or wherever they're comfortable. This is your meditation. Take a couple breaths to just clear yourself, your mind. Today, our intention is aloha. We opened and created a space for women to come together, for Wāhine to gather with the collective grace, the collective mana, with the collective mana'o, with the collective voice, to learn and share what's on our hearts and on our minds. We're here to cleanse everything that is no longer serving us. We say goodbye. We let it go. It rides out on the currents of the ocean. And for everything that's serving us, we honor it. We have gratitude for it. We let those waves wash over our body, from the soles of our feet to our shins, our knees, rolling up our thighs, to our abdomen, over our breast, our neck, over our face and our head. And I invite you to raise your hands if you feel motivated to let that wave, that cleansing wave, wash over your body from the soles of your feet to the top of your head, through all 3 picos, and let it flow right out of you. As we close this meditation, return your hand to your heart and to your na'au, to your abdomen. And under each of your hands is a ball of light, a beautiful ball of light that represents your being. In your na'au, the seat of your compassion and your integrity. Sometimes where your fear lives, where your courage takes place and seat. And in your heart, where you're filled with gratitude and aloha and love. Those two balls of energy, I want you to hold them tight. Now we're going to take 3 clearing breaths just to grow those balls as big as we can. So you should imagine them as big red balls of fire or light. All of the light that is coming out of you, flowing out of you because of all of the cleansing work that you did, that is coming into the universe. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Let it go. Balls of light are growing. Your hand should feel warm. You might be sweating at this point. Take your second breath in. Hold it. Let it go. With this last breath, we're cleansing everything that you brought into the bowl, into our collective calabash of things that we've shared tonight. All of that will be cleansed, gone, released back into the universe. Let your light grow with this last breath and then send it on its way. Deep breath in. Hold it. And let it go. Beautiful cleansing work today. Wāhine, mahalo for joining us at Actions of Aloha's webinar this month on spring cleansing. This also means that you have permission to clean out your homes and your social media boxes and your emails, but the most important cleansing work happens within you, always, right? The being who you are and how you show up will impact how you do everything else in the world. So my challenge to you is focus on your being this week, the rest of the week or weekend, and show up a little bit different. Listen to what the ho'ovaivai might have been that you took away from the cleansing that we did today. I'm just going to see if there's any questions in the chat. Oh, I love that. Somebody said human being versus human doing. I've never heard that before, but that's beautiful, Kayani. Absolutely. Will there be more of these sessions? Yes. Our idea is to, our goal at Actions of Aloha is to get Aloha into every home in the world. We feel like if every home in the world knew what Aloha was, that the world would be a different place. And so we will definitely be doing more webinars. We're trying to do one a month. So we started last month with our realignment with the spring equinox realignment process, and then this month with spring cleansing. And so look out for our next month's pauhana. But we want to have these and open them up to as many women that want to join us and have these conversations about Aloha that we can. The meditation app question is called Insight Timer. I'll type it in here too, just so that you see it. Yeah, it's awesome. It even has, like if my children are having a hard time sleeping, there's bedtime stories, all the things. There's this beautiful Islamic meditation that I do in the morning sometimes that just awakens my soul. And I have no connection to that culture. That it's just a beautiful place where people are coming together to be human beings rather than human doings. Mahalo nui loa, very powerful. Thank you. I'll stay on for 2 more minutes to see if there's any other questions. Namaste. Mahalo for sharing mana'o and light with us this evening. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Excited for the next healing session. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming and sharing space with us. Such a privilege as always. Have a beautiful weekend. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Follow Actions of Aloha. We'll be releasing some of the different things from tonight, and share your aloha with the world. That's really, Auntie Pilahipaki said that we will change the world with aloha. And I believe that in my heart, and I know that, and each of you showing up is a testament for the work that we're going to do to heal this world. Malama pono, ahui ho.